A former security chief over at Twitter has decided to blow the whistle about the ongoing security concerns over at the social media platform, and does not look good, although some of what he has revealed is not that surprising. Now, here's what we know so far. Peter Mudge Zatko, and Mudge is his nickname, I guess, has said that Twitter has failed to properly secure its service from hackers. It's also neglected to count the number of fake accounts on the app, of which we all know there are many, and even permitted foreign governments to access sensitive user information. Now, he is a renowned hacker who had been helping corporations and the government with cybersecurity measures for decades. Twitter, of course, possesses all sorts of highly sensitive user information, so this is a big concern. And back in 2011, it's important to remember that Twitter faced 2 high-profile hacks, and the company was subsequently sued by the FTC. And in a settlement, Twitter did agree to implement, monitor, and adjust security safeguards to protect users. But Zatko's argument here is that Twitter not only failed to implement those safeguards, but they also lied about their negligence. So here's an example, one example of many. The 2011 order required Twitter to implement a software development lifecycle program, a standard process for making sure new code is free of dangerous bugs. The complaint alleges that other employees had been telling the board and the FTC that they were making progress in rolling out that program to Twitter's systems. But Zatko alleges that he discovered that it had been sent to only 1/10 of the company's projects, and even then treated as optional. And current and former employees also agreed, by the way, with the complaint's assertion that the past reports to various privacy regulators were misleading at best. For example, they said the company implied that it had destroyed all data on users who asked, but the material had spread so widely inside Twitter's networks, it was impossible to know for sure. And let me just also note that the FTC getting involved in investigating a social media giant usually indicates that they're worried about investors being defrauded, right? So we'll get back to that in just a moment. But I do think it's important that this whistleblower blew the whistle on some of the security concerns over at Twitter. Cenk.
Yeah, so look, this could go either way, but I'm gonna tell you which way I think it actually cuts. Now, why do I say it can go either way? Sometimes people are disgruntled former employees. He was fired in January, and he was originally hired by Jack Dorsey, who's not the CEO who eventually fired him. Jack Dorsey left, and a new guy came in and fired him. And Dorsey had hired him because he was a famous hacker. Now, hackers usually work by themselves. You put them inside a large organization, and they might not like the process through which those organizations work. Those are real issues that can come up. And by the way, Elon Musk has got to be thrilled today with this, because it's certainly going to help his case against Twitter. So it did make me go, right? But when you look at the details of it, you see that the weight of the evidence is on the other side, that he is telling the truth. First of all, you've got current and former employees of Twitter backing up his story on several important grounds. Second of all, when he said, this is a really important point, guys. He said the executives had an incentive to increase the number of followers, but no incentive to make sure that there wasn't that much spam. And their bonuses were up to $10 million. That's a lot of incentive to not regulate the spam and have it appear to be a lot of followers. But that gets to the underlying problem that Twitter has always had, is if you don't verify the users and have them use their real identity, you're by definition going to have tons and tons of spams and bots, etc. And then you're gonna have an incentive for the rest of your life to keep those numbers high, because that's what you get rewarded on, either by internal board metrics or by the stock market. If they were ever honest about the amount of spam there is on Twitter, their stock price would crater. And that's because they allow people to use dummy accounts. And that we could all see with our own eyes. So it is very likely that this whistleblower is telling the truth.
Right, and again, if you're incentivized with a potentially $10 million bonus by increasing the number of daily users, then of course that incentivizes you to avoid doing anything about the spam accounts and the bot accounts that we all see on a daily basis. So I just want to go to the last graphic here, which is Elon Musk reacting to the whistleblower report with this fun "give me a whistle" image, and it does seem to verify the concerns that he has. Now, that doesn't mean it's an open and shut case for Elon Musk and the whole purchasing Twitter fiasco. But nonetheless, I mean, I think we've all seen that Twitter has that problem and is unwilling to do a damn thing about it.
Yeah, and by the way, to double down on what Anna's saying, it doesn't mean that he's going to win this case, because he should have put into the contract, hey, if you are lying about the spam numbers, then the deal is off. But he did not put that clause in the contract. He rushed it for no reason. It was incredibly negligent, the deal that he made with Twitter. We'll see what a jury thinks about that. But for the moment being, guys, if you don't already know it, if you're seeing a comment on Twitter, you have no idea if it's real or not real, if it's an actual person, because once they allow this kind of gaming of the system, you'd be nuts not to game it. Almost all the journalists are on Twitter. They can influence the conventional thinking of not just the journalists, but the public as well. So if you're a foreign country, you're a corporation, you're a donor, whatever it might be, you almost, certainly politicians, you almost have to go on Twitter and set up fake accounts and try to influence people's way of thinking. So that place is, in some ways, is great, because it said if they verified people's identities, I think it would be a really healthy marketplace of ideas. But since they allow spams and bots, and they obviously have this ridiculous system where they encourage it by having the inflated follower counts, you're always gonna never be sure if it's truth or lies that you're seeing on Twitter.